Welcome to another episode of the Moving Spotlight Podcast. This is your chance to take control of your creative career. John, I got a quick question for you. How do I put this lightly? You're from a different century? Which was?
Century? Jesus. No, I'm not like 200 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Different generation.
So, different generation. Let's keep it
I'm
real.
on the cusp of millennials. Cusp of millennials. But go on.
Cusp of millennials.
Okay. Yes. Go on.
I was curious. What's your favorite band? What is something that you've listened to back from your youths?
Oh, yeah. Back from my youths. Well, I was thinking about that. I figured, you might ask me at some point about my musical taste. So I got to tell you, Corbin, I am a top 40 guy. So, yeah, of course I am, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's all fun, and so there's bands that you don't even know about, like the Venga Boys, Corbin. These are old school.
I briefly know the Venga Boys. Yeah.
Sure. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm talking back like Tag Team Whoop. There it is. These are songs you don't, Sir Mix-a-Lot, babe. Like, this
Sir
is
Mix-a.
like, these are things that set up who I was in Wisconsin, and I listened to as a young youth.
True. You were from Wisconsin too, so that's kind of like the heart of the top 40s for sure.
It was the heart of top. It was top 40s. It was oldies, 95.7, the oldies. And then it was kind of like rock type stuff,
That's nice.
like White Snake, things like that, and that was the three. To me, those are the only three categories.
That's great.
At the time, and now it's exploded.
Were
so I'm
cassettes out yet, or?
So cassettes hadn't been invented yet. It was all live, right? So you're sitting there and you're watching the group. Yeah. It's all live.
Yeah, the telly hadn't been invented.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm super excited for this guest today because this guy here, he is one of the best people I know. He is the most creative person I know. He is a musician. He is an actor. He dances. He's an influencer. He does all these things. He used to be in the band R5. Now he's doing his own project, Ellington. This guy, I'm super excited for you to meet him. His name is Ellington Ratliff. Ellington, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey. Hello.
What an intro, Corbin.
You're
wow,
great. You're great.
I feel touched to my heart.
Ellington, can I tell you, that is Corbin's best intro he's ever done.
I've heard the other intros. I can also say
I can attest.
That was a 10 out of 10.
I've been working on it in the shower for weeks. John doesn't let me come out.
No, keep working on that intro.
It's coming out.
He's got to make it good.
Well,
how you guys doing?
We're doing good. How you doing?
It's nice early in the morning. I get a fresh start to my day with you guys. So I am stoked and honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, we're honored to have you. Actually, so I want to kind of start off with I kind of want to go way back. I want to go back to when wee little Ellington was a babe.
Yes.
First of all, what was your first instrument? And then also, what was it like learning that? Like, was your family like stoked for you to be a musician, or was it kind of encouraging? Were you kind of having to sneak off and go do drums or something like that into, a studio? Like, what was that like?
So I'll kind of go back. My parents are all like musical theater people. Mom's from Wisconsin. John, go Wisconsin.
What?
What? Get into that.
Your mom's the best. She's the best. I don't even know her, but she's the best.
My grandma had a dance, or has a dance studio that she started in Wisconsin, in Avoca. When she was 15, she started it, and now she's 92 and she's still doing it. So I come from a lineage of entertainment folk. I pretty much had like jazz hands out of the, as a baby. I was like ready to go with my tap shoes. My first instrument. So when I was about 11, there's a movie that came out called School of Rock.
Which I was like about 13.
Little indie
I was about 13. Yeah, I was about 13.
Yeah.
I was about 13. You were 11. Yeah.
Yeah. Us millennials know that was a big, big movie for us. Yeah. We were just like, what music? The whole scene that they do with the playing Smoke on the Water. That made me go, oh, I want to play guitar. And so I got an acoustic guitar. I like guitar tabs was a thing then. I had to print them out for some reason. I don't know why. I couldn't just read them on the computer. Like, we used printers back then still.
Yes.
And so that was like my first start of like, oh, this is music. But my parents were more like, great, you're going to be an actor, you're going to be doing theater and all that stuff, so have fun with the music thing. But just like, which is so weird because it's like the opposite of every other
every other parent is
forcing
married.
you to get into the industry.
Like, they're like, yeah, he's gonna be an actor, but he'll have fun with his music. And then that also led to drums. Drums was like also a thing because I grew up tap dancing. It was kind of a natural, like, oh, I'm rhythmically inclined. Let me just use my hands and feet instead of just flat ball changing. When, buffaloing, I can,
tap terms, kickball chain, all that.
Kickball change. Yeah.
I'm on the same page as you guys for sure.
You have no idea.
I have a segment at the end where I'll just go through all the tap lingo.
Ellington, the only reason I know, real quick, Corbin, this is kind of interesting. My dad picked up tap at like 60.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Like in his 60s, he probably doesn't want to know that. This is top secret. He took some classes and so I learned all the phrases. So he did it for a couple of years, and it was so cool to see him at that age try it. It was really cool.
Tap dancing is like the coolest. I don't know if it's the coolest, but it's one of the cooler forms of dance in my opinion, because there's such great people. I just watched Singing in the Rain for the first time like 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Mind blowing how amazing. They're just like sly, slick. It's just, and then there's like the guys like Gregory Hines and all these people who are just like, insane. You're like the Nicholas brothers. You got to check out. They, like,
oh my gosh, I know the Nicholas brothers. Yes.
I kind of grew up with the Nicholas brothers. My mom and dad met them in a musical, and pretty much I would spend my time they would come to my dance recitals and stuff like that, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, don't they do down the stairs, Ellington, where they're jumping up? That's what I've seen. It's like Corbin, they're almost doing the splits over each other down the stairs or whatever. And
they're the first people to do where they run up the wall and do a backflip and all that stuff. So cool, man. They did it different in the 20s, 30s.
Well, John, do you know?
Well, when I was born, they were really popular. What's also interesting about that is I remember I saw Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, which was an amazing show.
Yeah, that Savion Glover. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's and I feel like that's one of those, there's certain things where when you see it live, I mean, it's awesome to see on film, but also when you see it live, the energy is also so amplified. You know, sometimes when you see a stand-up comedian and the energy, everyone's ready to laugh there. So it's good, it's fun to watch, but also just being there, you're already primed.
Yeah,
and I remember that for that show, just the energy was so good.
And that guy Savion Glover, he it is kind of like stand-up sometimes, where he's just in the middle of a stage with a rag on his shoulders, just sweating and just doing what we call my mom's musical theater, so she called it more street tapping, where it's more it's down and dirty and kind of gritty. But he can just command a stage with just almost like a drummer can do a solo. It's just he can just riff the whole time, and it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much my background essentially, and that kind of led me into the music thing, which is, I don't know, was expecting it, shouldn't have happened. Here it is.
That's amazing. How do you juxtaposing that with current today? How do you stay on top of what you're doing all the time? What do you have any, do you like to wake up early and just kind of start mixing and doing stuff? Or how do you like to be on top of your stuff?
I wish I want to be the guy so bad that wakes up at 6 and or 5, whatever, does his morning journal. And I've tried. I'm not that person. I think I'm finally coming to terms with myself. Be like, man, I'm just not gonna my day doesn't really get started until 10. I can wake up, I can be awake, but I'm not just I'm in there. So I think I've kind of come to terms, and I try to work as much as possible in the morning, as soon as possible, get a workout in, fit in all the things you need to do. But I'm learning every day, as we all are.
There's a great, I'm trying to think of the name, Ellington. There's a great Instagram handle that's it's having fun teasing entrepreneurs, and it's wake up at 4 a.m., start 3 multi-million-dollar companies, do your yoga, but it's all these things that are impossible. It's if you make $1 a day and you double that in 1 month, you'll be a billionaire, but it's it's having fun and how early everyone, is. And I don't think that works for everybody, I don't
know. Do you guys wake up early in the morning? Are you guys early to risers? I mean, you guys all are professional people in your own ways, so I feel you guys have more of a structured situation.
I have an alarm at 6. Do I get up at 6? Not really, but I do get up probably around 6:30, get ready, but I don't start my day until about I'll try to exercise in the morning, but I start my day around 9, kind of like you. I like having a moment before the chaos that is work, so I just having that little bit. But I used to be more of a night owl, and I've slowly realized I'm more productive in the morning than I
I think for us cusp millennials, it kind of hits a little later. We're like, oh, maybe I don't like to be out till 3 anymore. Maybe that's not my thing.
Yeah. Because it's just bad at that point. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, but being kind of like in the more freelancey, like doing my own artist thing, it's been kind of an interesting transition to like schedule my own day around myself. Be like, wake up, and I don't necessarily have anyone to say, hey, you have to be here at 11. But like I kind of have to tell myself, like, sometimes I'll schedule a writing session with myself, like, hey, 5 o'clock, you had fun in the morning, you're going to start, you got that writing session you got to go to, which is just my room, and I'll just sit down. So yeah, I've kind of had to resort to just scheduling myself, which has been a change of idea.
Ellington, I want to jump back a second. One of my parents forced me and my sister to like take an instrument when we were young. Like we had to be playing one instrument a year, and the one instrument my dad would not let me play was drums. He's like, "You're gonna drive me crazy." How did you have a drum set at home? Were your parents like? I know you said you're playing guitar, but like, how did you carve out the time, to get good at that? Like, where did you find, like, did you have a garage, like a padded garage? Like, what was the impetus?
My parents were really cool in that regard. I would play drums, and my neighbors were like really cool. I would bang on drums for like hours at a time. We luckily had like 2 stories, so I feel like my drums would shift, sometimes be on the second story, on the first floor, whatever. So I feel like somehow the sound wasn't so bad for everyone. It would kind of dissipate by the time it got to other houses. And my parents, I guess, were just used to just noise, since they're musical theater, tap dance people. Like there was a dance studio like that my mom made one of the rooms into, so like there was always noise in the house. So I think just having drums in the house was not so different from everything else that was going on. So yeah.
I lived for a long time. There's a building in Hollywood, 1321 North Las Palmas, and in the parking garage, Ellington, there's 10 band rehearsal spaces.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So and it's so crazy. And so I lived on like the 3rd floor, but there was like bands that were always practicing down there when I'd go to my car, and it was like kind of called it like an artist's building. And it was such a kind of cool thing, but the vibe was so, I mean, they were pretty tiny, but like it was a nice rehearsal space because it was padded and it was pretty cheap to rent the space.
So you'd be walking to your car and just hear like 3 people playing different songs.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think they're still around. I think they're still like rented out. I don't know, but like, isn't that funny? I've never seen them before.
Crazy. Do you think they hear it like on the first floor of the apartment?
I'm trying to think, because I was like
in the morning.
I was like on the 3rd floor. I would feel like, I think they had time limits where like you could only do it like maybe like 9 to 5 or something. But
got you.
But it was really kind of a cool space for artists and stuff. Yeah.
Kind of pivoting a little bit with so coming up with a band name. So you went with your name, right? So but also with like R5 or any other bands that you've probably come up with before, it's like coming up with an improv troupe. It's like coming up with like a podcast name. What's your approach on something simple as that, where sometimes you just got to do it, right? You just got to be like, whatever, the moving spotlight, here we go.
Yeah, right.
I love the things Corbin thinks about at night, Ellington. These are the things Corbin thinks about.
I wake up at 3 a.m.
It's so good. It's like, how do I name something? How do I name it? What's the name?
I'll write this down for like.
How'd they come up with Google?
Yeah. So I've actually named my first band ever was called Nature Factory.
Ooh, that's a good band name. I like that.
That is a good name.
I'm not sure.
So
the whole joke behind, and it wasn't really a joke. I mean, we really named ourselves that, but we would come up with these videos like pre-YouTube, or like right when it was starting to hit, and it was all about like, is this a good band name? Like we do these kind of like weird random names, like, is Nature Factory a good band name? So it's definitely an art. It's definitely complex to name a band. With R5, it was kind of I met them at a dance studio actually, and with them, like people already called them R5 because there's 5 people in their family, like 5 kids, and then all their names start with R. So there's like Riker, blah, blah, blah. My last name's Ratliff. So when I joined the band, they like one of the youngest brother didn't play any instruments, so he was like did other things, but it just stayed with R5, I guess. It was one of those things. And then like later we're like, is this a good band? Yeah, it's fine. I mean, whatever, it's natural. Let's keep it. And so that's kind of, I feel like that's usually the deal with like naming. With me, I'm like, yeah, my name's Ellington. Actually, I have an interesting story about mine, kind of. at my like uncle's 50th birthday, he like became friends with this kind of famous musician, the lead singer of James. There's this band called James, and they sing this at the end of American Pie. It's that song, "This bed is on fire, the fire is already." Anyway, I don't sing too much because of the copyright, you know.
It's so spot on. It's copyright.
Yeah. It's like just like anyway, so he was there, and he was like, if you ever do anything yourself, you should just go by your name Ellington. It's such a good like artist name. And I'm like, well, I guess that's it. If I ever do, which at the time I never thought that would matter, but now it does matter. And I was like, should it be like this? Should it be like a cool like, you know, penguin, dark penguin? I don't know. Should it be like, you know, people like that's one thing. I don't know how people make cool names, you know, like Flying Lotus. Like I don't know how they do that. So I was just like, I'm not gonna try because it's gonna be something like Nature Factory again. So I was like, well, if his name's Tim Booth, so if Tim Booth says it should be good, then you're like, that was the one thing that was like, and it's my name, it's easy.
It's like, who's that guy again? Oh yeah, Ellington.
They get to keep the Instagram is really what's important. Not to make a new Instagram.
You have to make a new one. It's hard to manage all those Instagrams for sure.
God, seriously, yeah.
That's amazing. I kind of want to dip a little bit into the acting world a little bit because I know you.
Let's dip.
Also, let's dip in. So you were on Criminal Minds for a second. How was that audition process? What was that like? We've never really spoke about this.
Let me tell you. It was my agent came in or emailed me, whatever, and it was like, you have an audition for Criminal Minds. First of all, I'm like, Criminal Minds, bigger show, scary. And then they were like, you're going to be like it was like for a tough Southern guy. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to do it. This is not going to happen. So I get there. I'm like really nervous. It's one of those things. I feel like when you have like less lines, you can't mess it up. So if you do mess it up, like I get more nervous when there's like less lines. Cause if you screw up 2 lines, then you should just leave Los Angeles. And
it's only 2 lines.
Exactly. I'm like, so I go in there and, you know, of course I fumble over the lines. And then she, for some reason goes, okay, come back later today, but you know, pull it together. I'm like, okay. So I actually went to my old acting agent, or not agent. I can't think. It's too early. My old coach I used to work with. Her name's Marnie Cooper. She's amazing. Has anyone worked with Marnie Cooper before?
No.
I'm not sure if she does more like child actor stuff. Because that's how I first found her. But she's incredible. I would highly recommend her if somebody, whatever. I went in and she just totally like, even if it was like a minimal line, it was more just like trusting that I can be a slick, annoying, like Southern man. And I went back in there and you know, like literally I go back and like these guys have just tattoos, greasy long hair, and I'm sitting here looking like this is just not gonna go well. I walk in there and I do the line and I screw up again. I'm like, give me 1 second. So actually it was a whole scene. It wasn't 2 lines. But they're like, okay. And then it's a whole room of people as well. And then I do it again, and then the whole room laughs like out loud, like blah. And it wasn't a funny scene. There was nothing funny about the scene. But I did learn a long time ago, if you make someone laugh, like you probably, like especially in commercials, like you will probably book the job. And I was kind of like, oh my God, I think I did it. And then I left, and then I booked it, and then I get to the you know, because the big part of this, I was struggling with the Southern accent, like I've never really done it, like, hey there, I don't do that. And so like it was a big part of this whole journey, and I get there and they're like, the whole like accent thing, just drop that. And I was like, because you practice the accent
with the
whole time.
Like
it was to the point where like I was talking to one of the writers while we were waiting. He's like, where are you from in the South? And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Make a noise.
Wow.
Is this wake up?
It's not even my phone. It's my wife's old phone that I'm trying to like take over.
A takeover phone.
And it still has the Wi-Fi. Anyway. So that was the whole journey where I was like, oh, maybe I can be a greasy, annoying Southern man.
I see it.
I love it. Was it right? Ellington, do you remember? Do you know, was it Lisa Zambetti? Was she the casting director? Was it Lisa? Do you remember the casting director? Or no? Yeah, he's slowly backing away. He
He's
doesn't
like,
remember. Okay.
no.
It's probably Lisa. It's probably Lisa. She's awesome.
I
I know Lisa. It's
Yeah.
probably Lisa. She's awesome.
I'm the worst when it comes to that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I need to be a
Yeah.
lot better because I
That's
get
okay.
nervous if I know who people are when I walk
Yeah.
in the room. So
Yeah.
I just tend to ignore it. But
Ellington, I was thinking about that. One of the first of all, I love that idea that you went to the coach to feel, not that you didn't know the lines, which you did, but to give yourself kind of that inner confidence, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? To be okay with it. I think that's such a great thing with whatever field people are in. It's like when you practice drums a lot and you have a show, you're still gonna be nervous, but you're like, hey, I practiced a ton. So I have this confidence, even if I'm still nervous. And I was thinking about what you also said. One of the first big auditions I had was for this movie called You, Me, and Dupree with Owen Wilson, Kate Hudson, and I was auditioning to be a spinning instructor.
okay.
And and I remember going into the waiting room and there was like all these like super fit guys, and I was like, Jesus, these guys are in really good shape. You know what I mean? They're all like ripped and stuff, and I was like in decent shape. And there was one guy who in the waiting room, I was like, yeah, that guy like looks like, you know. And I went in there, but I had practiced with my buddy Rex. And we did this really funny thing where I actually pretended to be like on the bike. So I had like, I was getting my knees, if you can see, I was getting my knees up really high, like I'm a spinning instructor, which we thought was hilarious and kind of gave me. And so I did that in the audition. I was like, I don't know, maybe whatever. And I ended up booking it, which was super exciting, but it was also like seeing like you said, like other people. And I think we have to remember, you know, we don't know exactly what they want. And if we bring something to it, whether it's, you know, our own creative choices or our own confidence or our own kind of sense of the role, it puts you in a great position to possibly book it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. There was one time where me and it was like the last call. It was the final call, and it was me and another dude for Kaminsky method or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and we both go in. They like you know, you wait around, and you have to kind of be like, hey, like it's you and me or whatever. And, you know, we're talking or whatever. And so they're like, okay, you guys could both go home. Thanks for coming in. And so I'm like walking out with the guy. Like I didn't have my beard. I was pretty like clean cut. This guy had like long hair, big beard. And like, it was his first audition. And I was like, dude, you know, at the end of the day, like we kind of both like they either want your flavor or they want my flavor. I was kind of like consoling him because it was his first audition. And then he ends up freaking booking it. I didn't book it. I was like, no, I take it back.
He's a snake in the grass.
I shouldn't have been. Dang it, I shouldn't have.
Ellington, you know what's worse? I love that. I remember for a commercial once, they just brought back me and another guy, and they brought back like 4 women because they wanted to do chemistry reads.
Okay.
And the other guy went in with someone, then he came out. I went in with someone, came out. He went in with another woman. And then they sent him home. So it was like me and like 3 women. And I was like, okay, they wanted,
I think I got this.
Yeah. And as he's leaving Ellington, I was like super excited and like knew I had booked it, but I was being really humble to him. And I was like, hey, good job, buddy. Good job. You know? And you know, you keep your chin up. And then what it turned out was with the second woman, him and her had amazing chemistry, and they wanted to see if I could beat that with any of the other women, which didn't happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so he ended up booking it. And I was like, I was trying to be so humble. I was like, yeah, good work. You know?
Man,
and that humbled me. You taught me a lesson. You know? Right. So I could totally.
Yeah, you never know. And it also helps too at the end of the day. Like I don't really get disappointed when I don't book things because I've kind of grown up knowing that like it could be so many reasons that they go with somebody else. Like my mom's told me stories where that like she would be in the casting situation and they'd be like, oh, like they were going to book this one person and be like, you know, her, has anyone noticed her chin is like this? And they're like, oh yeah, maybe not. Okay, we'll do that. Like you never know what it is that's going to, you know, I don't know. So you can't like really beat yourself up about it at the end of the day. Cause
and I was just talking to someone about that yesterday about, they mentioned the word rejection. And I said, you know, that's true. But I also like to think about, there's also these cool opportunities coming around the corner. Like that's what's neat about it is you don't know what tomorrow holds. So yes, you are getting no's, but also you don't know what tomorrow's or today's yes could be, which I think is what's exciting and fun about it compared to maybe a traditional 9-to-5 where you know exactly what Friday will be like, what Monday will be like, what Tuesday will be like, you know? So that's part of.
I saw this cool Instagram post yesterday. Actually, it was a TikTok. It was just
I haven't heard of it. What is that? What is that?
It's
what is
like
that?
Saying Tic Tac? I don't understand.
Mouth things and then people like it. He was just talking about focusing on like the path rather than like the obstacles, because it's so easy to focus on like all the things in the way. And like, it's when you just think about, oh, like this is my point A to point B of how I'm going to get to where I want to go. I don't know, I just kind of living by that a little bit, just like not focusing so much on the rejection or the, you know, lack of whatever. Just go, okay, what do I need to do? Yeah, oh, that's cool. And like kind of feeds into the excitement of it all.
And a no is still an answer. Like it's not like you still it's better than not trying. So like you might as well get out there and you try it again next time. And like you said, maybe it's your chin's weird. Maybe you look like the Crimson Chin. I don't know. Like
the Crimson Chin. Yeah. Oh, that's a millennial
throwback.
reference.
That's a throwback.
Yeah. Fairly Odd Parents. John didn't even get that one.
I have no idea where you guys are.
He's too on the cusp for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Too on the
cusp. 90s
cusp
kids
of
now.
millennials. Ellington, you were also in So You Think You Can Dance. I really, really want to know about this because it's hilarious.
Corbin did his research.
I did my
Corbin
research.
really,
you really.
your Wikipedia page has a lot on
I'm
there.
looking.
Has a
I'm looking
lot.
He's in there. Yeah, we did this. What was it? A long time ago, me and my former bandmates were also all on this too. We did this like dance group. Our studio had like 1 million like guys, which is unheard of. And so we had this like 30 guy dance performance that we did. What's it called? Oh, it's called. I'm not even gonna get into the name. But we would perform it around, like we would do it at we perform at like City Walk, or we do like dance conventions, and somehow that got to the people at Dancing with the Stars, and So You Think You Can Dance, and we did a benefit show for the main guy, Nigel, and he liked it so much that he put us in the show, which at the time was like really exciting because that was like when So You Think You Can Dance was like the big show.
It was huge.
So yeah, that was like, it's interesting what this life takes you down the road to do, you know. One day I was throwing, like we had this thing where we had this little guy and we like throw him across the stage. It was this whole production, and then now I don't throw little guys across the stage.
Different path.
Different path, man.
Were you did they all know how to dance? I guess you met them all at a dance studio, right? Or were you kind of having to teach them the moves?
No, they were all great dancers. They came from Colorado and they were like big in the whole dance scene over there. And when they came in, everyone was like, "Ooh, R5 is in here." Like I remember people like talk, because they kind of travel in a bunch, you know, a bunch of tall blonde people. So yeah, they were all really good dancers. But it was more when they were like, "Hey, do you want to join our band?" I was, because they knew I was in other bands like Nature Factory, and they had like come to they come to see my shows and things like that. And so when they asked me, I was like, sure. Like I was very jaded, you know, because I had played the festival at the whatever Lutheran school down the street in the valley.
You had street cred. Man.
I had street cred. Yeah, I stage dove. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know, my friends were like, "What?" They saw that, they were like, "This guy's in." So yeah, we like jammed on, you know, I Love Rock and Roll and some like Fall Out Boy stuff. And for me, I was kind of like, yeah, this is fun. They're like, "We're gonna start a band," and I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I gotta do that. And then lo and behold,
they did. Wait, when you mentioned that, it made me think of Ellington. I've been in like a mosh pit once. You ever been in a mosh pit? I don't understand it. I didn't really like. My cousin came to town. We drove down to like Long Beach, and I was in this circle of moshing. And then I was like, I think I'm good, because I don't like getting elbows to the face. Mm-hmm. But there was an energy about it. But Ellington, have you been part of a mosh pit at all? Can you explain it to me? Have you in the past?
You know, as us actors, we got to protect the money. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, the face. You got to protect the face.
Yeah.
So I'm not as much. I've seen some really crazy ones. I went to go see Flogging Molly at the Palladium on St. Patrick's Day, and those guys like mosh to a like an art. You know what I mean? It's big circle. They're like doing things. They'll do things like physical with each other, but it's like
so like a dance number at the same time.
Almost, yeah. Like I saw like a guy like headlock another dude, but like that was fine. I don't understand. I've seen some crazy things, but yeah, I don't really partake. I'm also weak, so there's also that. I'm not really trying to.
I remember I was in a mosh pit. I've been in a few, but one of them I was in where I was just getting bounced around in the middle like a ping pong ball. Like I could not stop getting pushed from one guy to the next, and I couldn't control it. And that was probably the last one because I was like, this isn't as fun as I wanted it to be. It looks fun from the outside.
People who mosh are like bigger people. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing.
They're beefy.
They're beefy. They can be...
And I was like a teen too, and like trying to figure it out. And I was like, yeah, I'll go in. This sounds fun. You know?
You were in a team?
I was a teen.
We were a teen. I thought there was like a team.
I was in a team,
yeah. Like, we're going to go in there and we're going to get the defense and then, you know,
Red Rover, and just like, just
like, we're going to get there and infiltrate.
Yeah, no, I wish.
Ellington, one thing I'm curious about with like acting or music, and something that I did a little research too, Corbin. You'll be impressed. I usually do nothing. I usually do nothing, Ellington. So I just show up. But I saw you talking about kind of getting like flow, which I think is really interesting because I play a lot of basketball and sometimes you kind of find that, and with acting, just curious, kind of like how you find your musical flow, your acting flow. You know, what you try to do to kind of encourage that. You know, and just interesting thoughts on that.
Okay, so I have two answers. So with music, it's a lot easier for me to talk about, where it's like, you know, you show up to the computer and you work, and sometimes you won't get the flow, and that's fine. And you can't really. It's interesting when it's like self-driven creativity, because there's no real, like, you either come up with something you like or you don't. And sometimes you wake up from your flow and you're like, oh, it's been 7 hours and I have a song. What just happened? And you can't like really put your finger, you can't look back and go, oh, that's how I did that. Like, I feel like every time it's just different. It's kind of what makes it like mystical. And, you know, it's like why no one can say how they really write a song. You can like try different things, but it's like pretty much flow. Like if you're really into it, it can really, I don't know, take you far. And sometimes you're just in the right mindset. But like with acting, I mean, obviously like training is important, but I've also really liked, I did like some groundlings. I did some UCB, and I felt like UCB especially, I really enjoyed, and kind of that idea of training that muscle in your brain to be able to like just go with the flow, not think, and like it just really helped my auditions as well. So that was like the more like that was a way I was able to attain more flow in my acting situation. Because I would go to an audition and be like, oh, these lines are written, easy, let me get in there and like, you know, do it. But yeah, just kind of stretching that out and getting comfy in the room, which I'm sure you guys have experienced in some ways.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's interesting. I think one, like you said, like 7 hours can go by. Allowing yourself the time to kind of drop in is important. You know, I think it's hard if you're like, well, I've got a half hour and then I got to go do this other thing. Right. That's really challenging, you know, to like force it. And so I think giving yourself that space or that block is one thing. And then the other thing I've found is, like it's hard to know, you know, when it's going to come or not, but it's such a wonderful thing when like the outside world isn't creeping into your creative space. That's kind of what I think about, you know, like when I'm like improvising and it's going really well, or when I'm teaching, or when I'm shooting basketball just by myself, and I'm not thinking about like the stresses of life. It's such a cool thing. And like you said, time just kind of flies by. And it's such a wonderful place to be, you know what I mean?
Well, I have a question for you actually. Since you have, you know, you do need this time for your creative life, or like if you're getting ready for a role or something, and you have your non-creative life, like you know, you have a wife, you have a child, you know, I have a wife, I have cats that need feeding, whatever it is. Like, how do you kind of compartmentalize like your life and your creative life, and how do you kind of allow, that's something I'm kind of in the moment of like trying to find the balance of. What do you say to that, being that you know?
No, Ellington, great question. And I think it is very challenging. And I used to say, you know, when you get married, it's different, and it is different. And some people are like, it's kind of the same, you know, it's different. But like when you have a kid, it's really different. And the big difference with that, in my opinion, is I used to have like, okay, I've got Sunday, I've got a big chunk. Right. And then when you have like a kid or life responsibilities, and it could be other things, but I'm thinking of it just with my son, those all get really shrunk. And you have to find, okay, where am I going to set aside the time to do the things you're talking about, to allow myself to get into flow? And it used to be, it's interesting. I used to be, Ellington, very much a morning person. Now my son gets up before me. And as soon as I get up, he's like, you ready to play? And I'm like, Jesus, you scared me. And so I've had to actually become more of a night person, because that's when I have time for myself. My wife goes to sleep, my son goes to sleep, and I've kind of, not willingly, but I need to give myself that time and space. And I really like, I can't do it with music playing. I can't do it with noise. I can't do it. It's like, I need quiet. I need to like, spend some time. And so it is a challenge. And I think, Ellington, it also depends. It shifts a little bit where when you're younger, you're like, my career, I'm going to make it. And then, and that's important, and it gives you drive. And then as you get a little bit older, you're like, my career is still important, but my family's really important. And so you feel that pull, and you start to say, well, how do I spend time with them and spend time kind of on myself, and do that. And it's really challenging.
Yeah. I'm sure it's like an ever changing situation where you're just like, every day is different and you're doing the dance, you're doing the balancing act, I guess, every day. I feel like that's the way it is,
Totally. And when you're married, I always say, and maybe you found this, I think, communication and compromise. Those are like the two really, really important things, at least that I've found. So, with compromise, it's like, I really got to get this thing done. And my wife's like, I need help with this thing. And I'm like, all right, let me help you with this. And I'll do this kind of late, so the compromise, I give in, but you're trying to compromise. And then the other thing is like communicating with that partner and saying, you know what, I really need time on Saturday to do this, or what's going on with you. Okay. You're feeling overwhelmed. Let me help you out. And I think that's what having a great partner, which I have, and I hope other people find, is like, when I'm like, oh God, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to make this phone call. I'll talk to her. She's like, okay. Like, it's always, it doesn't feel easier, Corbin, when someone else has the problem and you're like, here's the advice,
Sure.
Like, just make the phone call and just say this. And then when you have to do it, you're like, shit, go. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm so, you get, you just like you go, like, it can be challenging. And so I think it can be a friend too, but like having someone where she's like, oh, that doesn't seem that hard. And I'm like, no, it is really hard. And she's like, well, just do this and this. I'm like, okay, yeah. And they kind of walk you back from the cliff,
Yeah.
So all that to be said, I don't think it's easy, but I've always, just one last thing. And I'm sorry about this big long ass monologue.
No, it's good.
Ellington, all your freaking fans are like, shut up, John. I'll shut up very soon. No, the only thing I just say is I like to think of this analogy of like, what's behind a boat? What's in the wake? What are you leaving behind? And some people, I think, just plow through life and never look back. And I hate, strong word, but I don't like working with people like that. For me, it's like, I want people that I work with, or that I become friends with, or that are part of my family, to feel like I was engaged with them. And so I also like to look at my wake and say, well, what ramification, does this feeding that relationship? So I try to, look through that, even if I'm feeling stressed, or I need to work on this, or I need to kind of,
yeah, that's awesome. I'll write that down. I'm writing that down.
Take it all in.
So something about awake.
Something about awake.
It's like, I don't remember. I toned down. I need more coffee. I didn't hear any of that, John.
So what I do, here's my monologue. I decide if I want a burger or pizza, and then I decided myself.
Folks, it's we don't know when we're going to release this. Corbin needs a Valentine's Day date.
Yeah,
so anyone out there, send in your letters, send in your emails.
1-800 Corbin Love. Call it now.
Corbin Love.
Corbin, how do you organize your day? You have wide open days. What do you do?
I have wide open days. I just lay there and think about how wide open it is.
Coffee dates, lunch dates, dates,
so many dates going on.
It all works.
It's fun. It's different. All right, back to the interview.
We got Corbin.
Let's get back to it.
My wife and I, we got Corbin situated.
You
got him taken care of.
Yeah.
We got him taken care of.
I've actually known his wife Danny since I was one. She's known me her whole life, which is funny.
Wow.
So Ellington, is there anything you want to know? Any dirt?
Yeah. We'll talk later. Call me.
Yeah, I'll call you. Yeah.
But Ellington, one question I do have is, what's the difference between when you're in a band and you're practicing and rehearsing versus now that you're solo? I think that's an interesting, being kind of part of a troupe versus being solo. Yeah. How did
It's honestly, it was really tough at first, because the first year I moved back in with my parents after living with them. We kind of all like split out of the house, and it was kind of just like, oh, I'm by myself now. So it's a lot of like banging your head against the wall and being like, oh, this is a good idea. What do you think? No one's there, like, kind of thing, it's like, just not like, it's just a whole different situation. And I kind of like, we were signed to a label, and they would set us up with writing sessions with like really great writers. And you're used to like being in a studio and like, wow, this is cool, this guy is like over here like, yeah, this is a hit, this is a smash. You're like, okay, sir, like, this is awesome. And then flash forward to like kind of being in the trenches again, of just like, what do I sound like, and how do I bridge the gap between what I was doing and what I'm doing now. And so once I came out with my EP, I felt like I came out with my first EP in April, and I felt like I'd finally honed in on something that I was proud of, like that I could show anybody and be like, this is what I sound like. And they're like, I'll show whatever, I'll walk up to anybody in the street. And that took like a year, 2 years to like really figure that out, and then to figure out the logistics behind everything. Because back in the day, it used to be like, hey, label, send it off to mixing, make it sound pretty, or like whatever, and so now I have to be like, how do I get someone to mix it? How do I do all this stuff? I was shooting music videos with like me and my wife were like, she's Saint. She would like, literally, the first music video was like with the like our iPhone and a light, a whole situation, running through the house, doing all this crazy stuff. The second music video was even more insane. I wanted to do like a stop motion flash photography video. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It's for a song called Sunderized. A little plug there. It's open for any sync and licensing situations. Anyone out there looking for some sync?
We'll edit that part out.
yeah. But we used her old like college, didn't even have video on it. We just literally had like a photo and flash, and we used like 6,200 photos. And we like, I took her all around. Like, we went to like Griffith Park in the middle of the night, and it was this whole situation. And it would be like, and I would like kind of move my lips along, be like, while she's like
taking photos. Wow.
And we're moving, and like the flash wouldn't go off. So it'd be like, hold on, dang it, come on, work. And then be like, cut. And then we'd finally like, and it's kind of like, moves, and I talk and I edit it all together. And it's just like, anyway, point being, check it out. But also point being, it's just kind of opened me up as well. Like, you work really hard, and it can be really struggling, but also you can look back at the end of it, if after 3 years have gone and your wake is over there, and you're like, wow, like we did something, so it's definitely been a struggle, but I'm very proud of what I've been able to do so far, and excited for the next round of, music. And being creative and being able to do whatever you want to do is like really enlightening. So yeah, that's a very long answer to a very simple.
Great. No, that's something I respect about you and you, John, too. Like, it's being doers, like you just don't let the, like John joked earlier, like I do get stuck and think about like, well, what if they don't like the word Google? Like, I just like get into that realm. But
right.
I think it's great that you guys like, just like you were able to shoot stuff in your own home. Like, it really is just like, if you want to make something, make it. Like, don't hold back. And I don't know. I'm learning how to be a little bit better at that. So I'm kind of curious how you guys just inherently have that. Is it like familial? Is it just something that you feel is nature versus nurture?
I will go ahead and say I have no inherent doerism in my bones. There's nothing about me that is like, that should do that. Because in the old band, I was a part of it, but it was like, there's 5 people. So I could kind of let people do things. I really had to like go, all right, man, if you're going to do this, you got to, you really like looking myself in the mirror kind of thing. Like, you really just got to pull this together. But I don't know, John, do you have anything to say about that?
When you were saying that, Ellington, it just reminded me of that idea. Sometimes you can be like the passenger in a car, and you're like, oh, we've driven this way a lot. And then all of a sudden you're driving, you're like, someone pull it up on Google Maps. Like, I got to figure out, like, even though you've done it before a couple times, it's
how
like,
do you drive?
yeah, exactly. Until you're in kind of the driver's seat, I think you're kind of called to task, Ellington. And Corbin, I think it's like, I saw something recently just talking about perfectionism, and sometimes people say I'm a perfectionist, but that's also kind of a procrastination thing. And I really feel like you got to throw that out the window and you just got to start. And I know that sounds easy, but it's like, don't worry as much about the Ellington. I checked out. I did so much research, Ellington, because I was excited. But I watched EMT. I think you did a video called EMT.
Oh yeah, that was the first one. Yeah,
yeah, dude, I loved it. I thought the song was cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the video. I thought that was really Corbin hasn't even seen it yet.
Come on, Corbin,
he's your good buddy.
Let me write it down.
Yeah, Jesus, Corbin. But I was watching. I was like, this is great. I was enjoying the music. I thought you did a good job with it. But to me, it's like, it's less about let's craft this perfect Fabergé egg,
right?
And let's start, getting on that path and seeing where it leads us. And then you can always adjust. But that DIY-ness you're talking about, wonderful if you've got someone you can hand it off to that's awesome at it. But not most people don't have that.
Or if you can afford to have,
or if you can afford it, beautiful, exactly.
That's a big part of the independent situation, which is like, no, 100%. I'm not going to spend $2,000 so that someone else could do. I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm just gonna do Pro.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding, I think that's another thing, finding the people, Ellington and Corbin, that you want to do stuff with. Like you found your wife, Ellington, and she was out there, she was taking the pictures. And like that to me is part of it. Like I love scooping up. I've been thinking about this. I try now with every project I do to find like one person I can really connect with. Right. So as opposed to, let's have everybody love everybody, that's hard. If you're working on something, a show or a movie or whatever, it's like, well, let's see if there's someone you can really like build a genuine relationship with that you might want to collaborate with in the future. I think that's really cool to find, so.
Yeah, that's something that I've been kind of working on actually, just because I'm finding myself in like a new world, and it's interesting who, like, you might have known somebody in the past, which is like in these examples is true, but they'll sometimes turn into an unforeseen like mentor or an unforeseen collaborator, or like, I'm having friends that are finding great success that I've known for a while, but our friendship is just now flourishing and I'm learning a lot from them. So you just never know like where you'll get that, it's something that I've definitely learned now, like later in my 20s, that's something I didn't know when I was 18. You never know. You never know who's going to be important in your life. It changes pretty drastically sometimes.
Well, I think also when you're younger, 18 or whatever, your friends and stuff they just kind of happen.
Yeah.
And then as you get a little bit older, you're like, oh, I have some control over this, or, a bit, what I mean? Like I can kind of choose how I'm spending my time. And I think you've probably found this, your time does get a little more, like you have time, but your time gets a little more valuable. So you're like, okay, do I want to spend I have a couple like people I know where like, if I call them at the end of the phone call, I'm going to be drained. I'm going to be exhausted. Yeah. Like they're a friend, but I'm like, I'm going to be exhausted. I don't want to call them today, Yeah. And I've gotten better with what you're talking about, Ellington, to be like, maybe today's not the day.
Yeah.
But I'll call that friend that like inspires me or gets me going, or like they've got things going. I'm like, okay. And I think finding those people can be helpful because we do like almost like we're in our own little silos a lot.
Yeah, they become like a little micro community that you can kind of lean on, or at least, I mean, even just someone you can trade things with at a bar, or just like, oh, yes. I did this today and that sounded really good, or like I whatever, I read this book, it's like, it's crazy how something so simple can be so valuable.
Yeah. Where do you go, Ellington, when you need, and Corbin, I'm curious for you too, when you guys need inspiration, right? Like who inspires you or what inspires you? Like if you're either of you are like kind of like feeling a little, you got a day, you're like, what do you go and do or read or look? What
Corbin,
helps
you go first, Corbin. I want to hear
I got to go first.
Steal whatever.
I will go on a walk usually, like if it's really kind of a something really spiraling in my head. But I notice for myself, it's oftentimes like, it depends on what it is, but if it's like a project that I want to just like do, then I'm ruminating on like not wanting to go, like it's got to be perfect or whatever. I'll just start it. And as soon as I started it, I'm like an hour deep already suddenly. And I'm like, oh, this was a lot easier to do. But I'll call my mom if it's like something that I feel like she could help me understand. Like she's a very solid person in my life. And I have a couple friends too, who I can count on to like kind of point me in the right direction. But I think at the end of the day, it's I know like getting outside especially during the pandemic, I got stuck in the house all day long. Like I gotta just like get out and do something. And recently I've been enjoying like working at a bar or working at a restaurant. So I'll go out and have my phone and I'll start like typing stuff into my phone about what I want to do, or writing an email, or doing all these things that are and that helps because it's a different scenery. Like it just kind of just gets me into this new flow, because I'm like, ooh, I can get distracted and look at this thing for a second and then go back to it.
Yeah. And it also like at the same time keeps you from certain distractions that are in your house.
Yes.
You know, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna just go play that guitar on your wall. Oops, so 3 hours went by, I didn't do any of my work.
Exactly.
We're like, like you can kind of like have that little like, oh, that's cool. And you're like back in it, you know.
Yeah. Because you kind of get bored like out there in a way, so it might as well work, you know. Like I can at home, I'm like, my video games, you know, I just like kind of go into it.
Have you seen his board game
I got a
collection?
Lot. I got a lot more.
No. We'll have to get into. I don't want to get too personal over here. I don't know if you've reached that point.
Does it include Monopoly? Even my taste in board games is top 40.
Top
is it
40.
Monopoly and chess?
No, that's a trash game.
Trash.
Did you just talk board game smack, Corbin? Wow, that's impressive.
I'm pretty cool. I don't know why I'm single on Valentine's.
I've got a whole list of reasons. I love that. But Corbin, you know what? To distill that down, you know, change your environment, change your thoughts.
Yes.
You know, change that up. I think that's a really great way. And it does, Ellington, like you're saying, if you're looking around, I should do that. I got to do that. It's nice. Nice to
laundry can be a real wrench in your day. You know,
beautiful procrastinator. What about you, Ellington? What do you like to do to get?
I think the thing that usually gets me, like, because all everything Corbin said is also true. I've used that, but I think what works most for me is honestly music. Surprise. But especially when there's something I'm excited about, which isn't guaranteed, doesn't happen every day. It's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, this is the thing that's going to get me there. Or like listening to like certain like music podcasts and things like that. Like Rick Rubin has one that's really good. Lately I've been getting into I don't know if you guys know Labyrinth. He sings, he does all the music for Euphoria, and he's just like this awesome, like very dark, gritty, like his production is amazing. So that's kind of like, I'll put that on and just get some ideas or just get pumped on that. And then that'll usually take me to, you know, while I'm putzing around making my cold whatever brew stuff, you know, I just gotta like, you know, kind of get the juices flowing, kind of dance it around. And then and then similar to what you said, Corbin, like sometimes you just gotta go, okay, I'm gonna start now, and you go, this sucks, flow. Bam.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's 7 hours later.
Actually, you know, I was thinking about that, Ellington, when you were saying, which is this ability to leave yourself open to, it could be random while you're making cold brew and you're like, oh, I just had an idea, and then run to it and do it. But then they also think the other side of that is, okay, I got to sit down and do it. So it's like kind of, especially in a creative field where, you know, I think if you have a 9-to-5 job, it's like you get there at 9, you're there, you know, you're doing it. But in a creative field, there is something where you want to give yourself that space, right?
Yeah. There's definitely a moment when the fun is over, when like you're like, because sometimes you'll jam even when you're at your station, you'll be like vibing as the music industry term.
Yeah.
And then
vibing. Hold on, let me write that down.
Vibing.
Try to vibe
more.
Vibe more.
And there's a point where you're like, okay, now I gotta like solidify a lyric, or I gotta like really like I gotta make it not sound like crap, which is a big part of it, you know. So not sounding like crap is probably number one. If I could say anything to inspire the youth, so there's definitely a moment where you need to go, okay, work time.
I think that happens on every project. I mean, I've seen that a lot with acting, where it's like, oh, this is fun. It's like, okay, now you got to put in some work. Or if you're on a film, oh, we're doing great. Shoot, we're behind. Go. And everyone gets stressed, and people are talking very directly, you know, almost it feels like you're yelling, but it's like, no, we like, and it tightens up, you know, and there is that, and you have to be okay with it. Not always vibing. I mean, that's awesome, but there are times where it's like, okay, we gotta do the work, you know, put that in.
It's crazy.
Excellent.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I think it's our time. The time at the very end. I think it's time.
Right. I heard about
best Bad
Bad
acting.
acting.
There it is. There it is.
So-
Musical.
What we've done, Ellington, is we've got Lisa Zambetti here. You're going to be recreating
God,
your
no.
audition from Criminal Minds because you talked to it. No, that's not true.
Yeah, no.
She's been waiting this whole
She's
time.
been waiting
Like,
for you.
I remember your first audition, Ellington.
I remember you screwed up that line.
All
Okay,
right.
yeah,
Well,
give it to me.
we're gonna
What's the
throw it
deal?
in the chat here.
We're going to throw it in the
I'll
chat.
send it to you here, so you can pull up the Zoom chat, so you can see the whole thing.
Yeah, we're professional.
We're professional. It's the little peek behind the curtains. So you're gonna just go. It's just have some fun with it. Just do whatever you feel it comes off the chest here. I'm not sure if you've seen this movie, but I know you're a fan of horror movies, so I was hoping that this could be.
Oh, I say the word.
You say the word in the quotes.
You get to act it. You get to act
It's
it.
a little-
That's bad acting. Have fun with it.
Yes.
And then the little asterisk, is that how I'm saying it? Like, is that like my inspiration, what I'm going for?
No, that is actually the people who said it. So it's creepy children. It's the people who. So it's a little sing-songy, and just have a little fun.
Yeah.
We may give you a redirect here.
This is from Nightmare on Elm Street. So
Yeah.
take your time, enjoy it.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5, 6, grab your crucifix. 7, 8, gonna stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again. Wow.
Oh wow, that was great.
Where did that go, Ellington? Where did that go? Where did that go?
Headphones is like, gonna go home.
Oh my god.
That was
so.
I wonder what Danny's thinking right now. Like, what is going on?
I wonder what my landlady's thinking, who shares the wall with me. She's like,
I love it.
What is he doing at 10:15? Anyway, yeah,
that was
I'm,
amazing.
Available for all Nightmare on Elm Street
Remakes.
Remakes. So
Okay, now Ellington, one of the fun things is sometimes we give you a redirect. Corbin, do you have a redirect for Ellington?
I do. I kind of want to see a little more jazz in this. I want to see a little more like whatever that means to you.
Okay, hold on. give me 1 second.
Oh,
Oh wow.
I like
Oh
this.
my God, is he getting his?
Who knows what's
I have
happening?
no idea what's gonna. Is he gonna
For
get
the
his tap
listeners
shoes?
that can't see, he just left the room, so it's just Corbin and I.
And he's gone for like 20 minutes.
he's
he just ditches us for
He
way
took
too
off.
long.
He said, I don't want to do
What
it
would be
again."
jazz? Is he gonna get a hat? Like, is it like a little jazz hat and cane?
I'm thinking no, that's not-
Tambourine?
that's not- tambourine is not jazz.
A trumpet?
A trumpet, saxophone.
Oh, he's
Oh, even
little
better.
glasses and a little
Glasses. Oh yeah, and he's snapping his fingers. This is great.
so great. Oh yeah.
It's a 1 and 2, and Freddy's coming for you. There's a 3, a 4, better lock your door. 5 and 6, grab your crucifix. And 7, 8, I'm gonna stay up late. 9, 10, do it again. Zing.
Yes. Wow, I like that take. I like that take, Ellington. Oh yes. And then
Yeah,
he's
thank you. Oh wow, loves the
so
stage.
used to there being a crowd. He's so he's bowing and kind of doing that hands together thing that you do when you're victorious.
I've done a lot of theater in my life, or I've seen a lot of theater, so I think
That's what they do. That was
and
oh my gosh, Ellington, that was amazing. That was so
wow.
awesome.
I feel ashamed, sad. I don't know.
that was amazing.
Mixed emotions right now.
Awesome. Well,
All
I
right.
mean, Ellington, this has been just amazing. I want to do one last thing. Corbin, you haven't even approved this.
Oh no.
I know we haven't done it in person. No, this is good. This is good. Ellington, I want to gift you the moving spotlight mug. We've never done this before. Yes, because you said you drink coffee.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this old
No, that thing's ratty. This is the new
trash.
available on our website. These things are freaking awesome. So we're gonna get this in your hands. All right. We don't ship, so you have to either come to Corbin's place or my place.
Okay.
We can't afford it, but we want to get you the mug. You're the first guest to get one, bud. You're our first guest to get one. So
oh my gosh, I'm gonna thank you. I'm honored. I'm shocked.
Of
I
course,
need that.
of
Thank you.
course. No, so well, we so appreciate your time. So appreciate you being here. This was lovely and wonderful, and we wish you all the success, man. Like I said, I listened to EMT. I enjoyed it. I want to hear more of your music, so I'm excited for you.
Stay tuned. There's music coming soon.
Ellington, let me ask you, if people want to, find out more about you, maybe they already do. Where can they find you? What can they look at? What's the best place to see what's going on?
Yes. Instagram, TikTok, all that
Beautiful.
stuff is at Ellington, Ellington. And then my EP's out on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. If you want to check that out, worked really hard on it. So enjoy.
I love it. Please. Yes, please check that out. Please support artists. I love it. Ellington, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
was
both.
amazing.
This was really fun.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Moving Spotlight podcast. Please, please, please rate and review us on your podcast app of choice.
Yep. And we're on YouTube. If you want to see everybody's pretty face, we're on there, and you can give us a like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. And also, if you're looking to learn a little bit more about us, follow us on Instagram at The Moving Spotlight.
Great. Check that out. We also have a Patreon page we've mentioned before. More importantly, please share and review. Tell others, when you say, hey, this is a great podcast, gets them to listen. And keep listening, keep watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the
Moving Spotlight podcast.